Hi everyone, it's your Simmer here. Welcome to the farm. Sorghum is ready to go, but I'm clearly not. That's what I get for dropping the header for some reason. I think I was, if I remember correctly, I was going to repair the harvester and something. I don't know. Refuel the harvester, I think, and that way I didn't have to drive everywhere. Might want to go ahead and get the lights going so that I can see. No real reason to go super far here. So we'll get ourselves disconnected. So now that I'm out in the field, I can easily get to the header. So I keep looking in mods for someone to come out with a harvester with a the ability to angle the pipe like we had in FS19. Haven't seen it yet. I don't know, it's possible. They're not putting it in the comments. It's not as if I'm downloading every harvester and trying it. But man can dream, right? Just going ahead here, getting this set. Not sure how well this will all work. If I start here, this is a totally different starting point, but that's part of the fun here, is just trying different things and seeing what it looks like. Alright, so I need to unfold the harvester. I had to make sure I had the right thing, because typically I just hit the X key and unfold my attachment on the header. Aha. I'm hitting the button to start the header, but I haven't connected the PTO. That would make it a bit challenging. So we've got ourselves some sorghum, and there we go. Now we're gonna have to stop harvesting at some point, just simply because we're gonna hit the trees or something. I shouldn't say stop harvesting, but we're gonna have to angle. I mean, I will stop at one point if I have the ability to basically set where I am at the line, but because yeah, even here I think I'm already gonna clip that tree if I'm not careful. Back away some. I'm sure everybody likes the sound of the equipment working, but I don't think they want it to be drowning out anything else and just making it ridiculously loud. Alright, well, that's terrific. Why is... I've got it in reverse. Why is it... What is happening? I don't understand what I'm even stuck on here. Well, that's... Oh, I see. Let's see. Can I somehow get myself free here? Come on. Alright. Wow. I don't think I could ever recreate that again. Enjoy that piece of video lore from Misty Hills. Jeez. Alright. I've got harvester eating trees on the farm. I don't know that I've ever seen a tree win that battle quite that spectacularly. So, you're welcome. Wow. I was beginning to wonder, am I going to have to detach the header and, somehow pull it out? That was just weird. I mean, I was trying to go in reverse and forward. I think it was just I got it really, really wedged. But yeah, I'm clearly already, it's showing me +1, which, well, actually I think that probably was what I started on. But I think if I... No, it obviously was not, because it's trying to take me way down, and I know that that's not where I was at, so yeah, I'm thinking I'm already at the point where I probably could end. Let's see. Yeah, because this is +1 here, but we'll see what it looks like. I'm gonna say it's thinking I'm at the edge of the field because I'm basically coming up on nothing. That little orange tree is going to be a problem. I hope not. If it is, I can't imagine it's going to be as big a problem as the last one that I hooked was, but yeah, just got a little bit more room here, which is partially why I put the root crop cellar there, because I'm like, oh yeah, I can always get in here. But what I found is my preferred method of entry, because where I need the root crops from is the pigsty, and it's better to come in the other way, but there's obviously challenges with that. Alright. So, hello. I always love that. I'm in reverse, but there is so much movement that continues, like just continued forward momentum, that you end up running over your own crops. It's ridiculous. But anyway. Alright, so I'll go ahead, I guess, because now I just realized, like, really, I should kind of go back the way I was and fix row 1. And maybe I'll do that once I get past this point. But, yeah, we should get a good amount of sorghum off the field here. I think most of my harvesting here, I think last time I did this field, I went across this big top portion, and then went up and down, which I think I'll do again. It's just easier the longer I can go. I mean, if you just think about kind of a working with calculation that we've not talked about in a long time, but if you think about the concept of it, so let me, there we go. It's like, let me get lined up, but then I wasn't sure if I was gonna end up wrestling with another tree, but luckily I was okay. So, but if you think about the working with calculation, basically it's speed, width, and then you basically cover your acreage. So the longer I'm moving and harvesting, the closer I'm going to get to that calculation, because basically the calculation assumes you're harvesting 100% of the time, meaning like right now where I have half my header not grabbing sorghum, I'm actually drifting from my optimal time for working with on this field, or from the work time calculation. I think I called it the working with calculation, but so now I've got a full header, so I'm doing the best I can. But anytime I spend turning, anytime I do whatever, so if I go north-south, and great, I get those really long, then when I'm here, I've got shorter runs either way. I've either cut the field from east to west and made it smaller, but like right here, like this would be time that, those 3, 4, 5 seconds is time that's not in there. And again, this is going to be fractions of a second every time that isn't fully using, excuse me, getting some hiccups there, isn't fully using the header. I think I'm going to need to cut an edge there because, see, and again, I'm in drive and it's just driving me into the water. Well, I don't want to be on this one. That's the one I just came off of. Oh boy, oh boy. Alright. Obviously, I'm really struggling this morning. Maybe it's the really early rise. I don't know. It's not that early. But yeah, I got a early head start because one of the real-time, well, really the only real-time thing that I have on the channel is the mods worth noting. So if you haven't checked those out, do I have weeds there? Interesting. Did I somehow like have one piece I didn't spray that I missed? I think there was literally a weed there. That was weird. Okay. But those are done. I try to do them every Friday or as close to it as I can, and I ended up missing the Friday, and so it was Saturday, and I went to bed a little bit earlier than normal. I didn't stay up quite as late, so it was kind of like a trade-off from one end to the other, where I had in my head, you know, I could go do the mods worth noting before going to bed, but I was like, I'm really tired, and I'd just been, you know, I mentioned on the channel the rail route sim that has nabbed my attention lately, and I've been doing a lot of late nights with that have been causing me some lack of sleep, and I finally was like, well, I better do a better job today, mainly because I've got a pretty busy day in my life today, and I don't want to be tired for what we're doing. It's going to be some fun stuff, and I'd rather be awake for it than asleep. So I kind of didn't want to push it much, but so it wasn't a full trade-off, because I probably would have been up another 2 or 3 hours last night, and I really got up an hour earlier than I normally would have for this, so was able to get up, get the mods worth noting done and on the site, and then I'll be able to get this harvest going, which is part of what I knew was likely in the back of my head too. I'm like, I know from grabbing the pigs yesterday that, and checking out the field after I was off camera, that I realized it's likely the sorghum's going to be ready tomorrow, even though I planted it a day late. But I forgot, sorghum has a very fast growth cycle. There's just 4 stages, where some crops have 8. So that's one of the benefits of sorghum. You can get it to come up really fast from the time of planting. Obviously, you know, you've got to be in the harvest window for the crop, but like once you're there, you're golden. Alright, so this is going to be a partial row here, and then I am going to run down to what will be row 3 on my GPS track, and then start from the end, and then I'll have full rows. I mean, row 2 was a full row, but I had to jump over to row 1. So what I had been debating was, do I just cut over in row 2 and then come back and clean up row 1, but decided to do it a different way, which works out pretty nicely. So there was a bit of, well, I guess I'll call it controversy, because it kind of became a little bit apparent to me with the adamancy that the questions were being asked, that someone felt fairness was being compromised, and or they wanted to know if someone could do something similar. But there was a debate about folks on another server, a specific single FM on another server, and I didn't get the name of the FM, and it doesn't really matter. And if I had it, I certainly wouldn't be including it here. But it was on server 225, and there was some concern that a new FM had been put on the server, and they had bought, and that server is a Shellbrook server as well, so it's the same map that we're using here. and they had heard from another FM on that server that a new FM had arrived and moved in on the largest field on the map, which is outside the purchasing limits, which are 500,000 of fields for FSN. So when we're talking about the largest fields on the map, it's I assume 1 or 4 up at the north end. So if I go here, it's one of these two. And if you look at straight cost, it seems, in an area, this 303 acres, I believe, is the largest. Yeah, field 25's, 100 acres smaller. So in any event, my assumption is they got to move in on field 1. And it seemed there was the rush to judgment immediately that someone was allowed something wrong to happen, and how unfair, and how did this happen, and so forth. And after offering some explanations of what I think likely would have happened, is that there was something else that was going on. It could have even been something as simple as someone moved in and bought a smaller field within the limits, such as the ones when all the FMs come on here, they buy the little fields down south because those are the only ones that are within the range. Or they were a mayor, and mayors are not subject to that limit to some degree. So but where again it kind of took on there was a lot of work done on this before starting to ask me the questions. Some of the folks that were asking had told me they had gone through and scrubbed through the records of land movement, which we can see on FSN, but there's a lot of stuff there. I mean, it's a lot of effort, in my opinion. It's effort I wouldn't go through, unless I was doing what they're doing, which is, I was adamant about proving a point that something terrible was occurring. And they're like, no, there was no other land. This was it. And, for this person, we looked. And so it became apparent that, all right, just some general, hey, this could have been. There was always going to be this doubt. And so part of what I was trying to do as mayor here on this server is, all right, let me ask some questions. Let me get to the bottom of what happened. And once I find out, I'll share what I find out. And so, as I assumed, there were some extraneous circumstances, and so some of what happens on FSN is, as you might imagine, in a real world of 200 servers running virtual worlds of farms on those servers, there's work, time, money that are required to keep that operation going. And at times, just like in any type of business, and when we're having to pay for server hosting, like it or not, there's a business element to this, even though we like to consider this not a business. It's I've heard it described as a passion and other things like that, but when you, at the end of the day, if you can't, we need to understand, like, whoever is running this, if they were losing, say, $1,000 a week on it, I don't think they'd keep it going. There's a limit to passion, is I guess my point, where if I suddenly can't feed my family because I'm paying for FSN servers that I'm not getting sponsorship for. At some point the plug needs to be pulled. And so basically what ends up happening to keep costs in line is, if a server's not terribly active, and there are times where servers will literally just have the mayor on them and nobody's joining. It might be a map that's fallen out of favor. Who knows what the reasoning is. It could be a mayor that's doing a poor job, and word's gotten around that, hey, don't get on their server if any issues come up, like the mayor's not going to help, type of thing. I don't know if that's really the case. I'm just offering examples of what could happen. But in whatever the reasoning is, the process in FSN is that periodically we will get notes on the Discord boards that, hey, these servers are being looked at for decommissioning, and sometimes it's consolidation and so forth. So what I think at times they do is, let's say you've got 4 or 5 servers that are running the same map that all have one person on them. My assumption would be that they ask those people, well, can we just put you all on one server and just, get down to one server instead of paying for 6 servers, even though they're being paid for by sponsorship and covered. Would you mind consolidating? Because there's more to it than just paying for the server. The ops team has to monitor things. Servers go down. People are like, hey, reboot. I can't log in. There's people's time that is being used too, and obviously the more servers we have, the more challenging it is. So if we were to take the ultimate absurd example of we have 200 and again, at least 225 servers, let's say. There's some numbers I'm sure missing in between, but since server 225 was the one in question, we're on server 212, so they're a bit further down than we are, or a bit newer than we are in coming online. And every one of them had one FM on them. They had the sponsor on it, and that was it. So they're being fully paid for. But servers can take 7 farms. So if I have, say 200 and... Sorry, I'm trying to do math in my head quickly here. So if I'm doing, let's say I have 231 servers. I'm trying to get beyond 225. That would be 33 servers if they were fully loaded with 231 individuals on them. I could fit them onto 33 servers if those servers were fully packed. Obviously, managing 33 servers compared to 231 is a very different dynamic. So, the point being, the FM that got moved on and was able to do that was basically forcibly removed. Is obviously a little too aggressive of a explanation, but it serves the purpose, where they were basically told they needed to relocate. So whether, again, it was the server was decommissioned, but it wasn't through any fault of their own. Nothing, so they were in good standing, hadn't caused any issues, violated any rules, and so forth. And they had a lot of land on that server, and so forth. So at times like that, FSN will, in again, trying to maintain fairness, like if this person had, say, 300 acres, which is what that large field is, or maybe more, on another server, that they are then being told, we're not keeping your server running anymore, sorry. Putting them in the same box and saying, all right, well, sorry, now you're moving. You didn't want to move. You'd prefer not to move. again, I assume they were covering the cost of their server so that they could have stayed, but at some point the decision was made, sorry, we can't maintain that server, we need you to move. That was basically the gist of it. I mean, there were a few other things and a few other points that were mentioned, which, again, are just additional reasons. And part of being any community is that you respect the leadership choices and so forth. But in the end, what I shared with the folks here is like, yeah, the decision was in line with everything. And again, I've never seen FSN management make choices that were just completely arbitrary and against fairness and so forth. So my version of what I felt was occurring after learning what occurred was exactly what I said. Like, give the benefit of the doubt to management. Like, yes, no rules were bent. Nobody, no operations person put them on the server and said, the 500,000 rule be damned. But what field do you want? You've got enough money. You've got millions of dollars. Go ahead and do this. It would have been the same thing. But again, as a mayor, I believe I would have had the option if I wanted to buy Field 1. I had the money. I could have done that. But, and yes, that server, because initially when I went to try to have the conversation, the first thing I would do with any kind of a discussion like that is reach out to the mayor of the server, kind of mayor to mayor, and say, hey, what's going on? Just like we, should happen in the real world with anything, two CEOs that are having difficulty, two mayors that are like, hey, my citizens are upset, you guys did this, can you give me some more detail? It was basically, that same type of thing. So if I try to keep it in governorship, which in essence is what we're doing as mayors, is we're part of kind of the civil force of the server, because again, we've got duties that are kind of unpleasant sometimes. Again, we've been going through that on our server here, where I've got FMs who have just kind of gone dark and vanished, with Sears, for example, that we had to put in a removal ticket. I tried multiple times to, hey, are you around? What's going on? And at a certain point, you have to go ahead and basically evict the tenant that's abandoned their property. That's just kind of how it works in FSN. Otherwise, you create the situation that probably resulted in that FM being moved to server 225 and then created these strange dynamics that surrounded it that caused this whole brouhaha about, I heard about this on server 225, can you believe this? Sorry about that. Morning frogs, so had to take a little bit of a break there before my voice started sounding funny or I started coughing in your ear. So, but yeah, so that's been kind of what had happened in the last couple days, because this has been going on. I think I got asked this a couple days ago when I happened to be on with folks. And they're like, hey, did you hear? What's going on? And, again, no, I didn't hear. This isn't like something that goes around. They heard because they know an FM, they're friends with someone, in Discord or whatever, that said, hey, can you believe what happened? And just like any kind of gossip or whatever, when people make assumptions then, as opposed to just, hey, before we get ourselves all worked up, why don't we just see if we can get some answers? And sure, again, I could understand folks being upset if there was some sort of, cover-up or something. Like, if I had asked and been told, it's Voldemort. This is, he that shall not be named. We are not going to talk about this. Yeah, we understand your people have questions and tell them to mind their own business and go away. Again, I probably would have maybe softened the message a little bit if that's what I got, because, at the end of the day, this is a community, it's people. It's possible I could have gotten that kind of a message. And I certainly, I'm not going to be tossing folks under the bus. We're trying to all get along here, and, while I would have preferred, if that was the response, for a different one, I would just probably have come back and been like, well, I've been unable to find any more details out, but let's just focus on what we're doing here. It doesn't impact us. Like, you're here. If you want to buy the large field, save up, $4.2 million or whatever that field is, and you can have it. Because one of the things I had suggested as a possibility, because that would be the way an FM without any special circumstances or anything would be able to do it. You'd come onto the server here, you'd get your home plot. Once you have that, and you're here, you bid on auction on any piece of land. I'm regularly talking about auctions, and I'll be talking further about some after this. That's the next topic I have to discuss with you, of where we're at. And if you have $4 million, $4.2 million, when parcel 1 comes up, you can buy it. And obviously auctions are randomly generated, and they show up, and while we have yet to have parcel 1 ever come up on our server, I only plowed it because I knew it was massive and I knew it would take forever. So I just wanted to get ahead of it, so I plowed it before there was any auctions. And unless I'm totally forgetting something, it's never come up for auction. So, but that on that server, it could have been the first piece up for auction. Who knows? But in any event, an FM could buy that, and then there is a process that you can go through with FSN that lets you change your home plot. And you basically submit a ticket that says, hey, I want this field to be my home plot now, because you're not allowed to sell your home plot. It's your home plot. You must live there, and that's what's attached to your farm. And but if an FM then went through that process, they could buy the small field, purchase field 1 when it came up for auction, put in an application to have their home plot changed to field 1, and then sell their smaller field. And then it would appear that, well, they came on and they got this giant field. And again, going through the records or whatever, I guess that these folks determined, well, that's not what happened. So, to their credit, I suppose. Because again, I just feel this is one of those things that sometimes, folks get worried about things that aren't, I don't know, that maybe I feel they shouldn't be worried about. But obviously there's some thing that motivated them to be concerned. And again, my speculation is, I know they've talked about, hey, we've got some friends that would like to join our server, which is kind of what started the, hey, we have some folks who aren't active, are we going to do anything about it discussions. And whoops. And so we've gotten slots open, and once again, I actually haven't checked in a few days on the situation with Swede. I did put in a ticket to say, hey, my understanding is he submitted a ticket, but now I've reached out to him a couple times, gotten no response, so it's possible he's, just having to deal with his stuff in real life that has pulled him away. And again, he didn't want to leave, he'd love to be able to play Farming Simulator. Just right now, circumstances are not allowing him to do that. And so, it was a reluctant departure, but I'm sure, once then you've got to deal with with that, and then you're not paying attention to the FSN Discord if you're not active in FSN. So, so ops coming back to him and saying, hey, we need you to do something, they're not going to get a response. So I'm trying to now figure out, what do we do? You know, do they now manually go, again, remove him like they did with Sears, but I assume that's going to take several weeks to sift through. So we're waiting for that, but in the meantime, we have 2 openings for FMs. I haven't obviously seen anyone new come onto the server. I haven't heard any of the other FMs say, hey, my friend applied and he got notified they're going to be moving him in. So, but my assumption is that question is based on something that, like that someone has a friend who wants to join, and they have a lot of money, and they want that field. And they thought they had an opening by raising the point, like, hey, this was allowed to happen on 225. I want to do that here. I'm not really sure what else would kind of driven someone to not only ask the question, but do all the research in the background to show that a less sinister way wasn't what happened. Because again, they were prepared to immediately tell me that, nope, what you're suggesting didn't happen. I already looked at the records and that didn't happen. So that's when I offered, like, well, let me see. And I'm completely satisfied with the answer I got. I don't feel in any way that anything was bent. Rules, fairness, whatever you want to talk about. You know, it entirely made sense why the decision was made that allowed that FM to do what they did. So, so I've talked about that for a long time, probably at least 4 or 5 rows, which probably means 10 or 15 minutes. So it's the soap opera of Farming Simulator Network, Days of Our Lives. Welcome. So we have that. But then next topic, as I said I would talk about, is fields up for auction and what's been happening. So I had mentioned in a previous episode, Field 16 came and went, nobody won it. But, you know, it's kind of then in my mental space of it has come up for auction, i.e. it should be prepared. So I've now got a backlog. And now my backlog is getting bigger because now suddenly the fields that aren't done, which are very few, it's less than a handful, now suddenly they're coming up. And the one that just got announced as an upcoming auction is Field 25, which is that giant finger at the bottom that I clicked on comparing to Field 1 that is just under 200 acres. So that one now has to be added to the list. So I have Field 16 and Field 25 that need to be prepped. In the interim, 18, which is a small field down south, had come up. I didn't see that anybody had bid on that. It's possible I missed it and one of the FMs grabbed it, but in any event, like that one was done a while ago. So, you know, I know that one's ready. It's completely at the southern border of the map. And, you know, so I will have to do that work again, depending on when I finally get to it. You know, maybe it'll become another. You know, I haven't done an episode of FSN work in a while. Plowing those 2 fields would certainly allow me to talk to you for 2, 3, 4 hours if we wanted to do that. You know, maybe we'll read a book together while we do that. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Anybody have any idea? Well, if you have ideas at this point, I'm so far ahead, sadly, I can't implement them for a long time. So, but with that being said, I don't want to discourage comments from videos. I do read every comment. I try to reply, at least thanking folks, if nothing else, for every comment that comes through. That you know, I still do get some. I had to delete some spam comments the last couple days. That hasn't happened in months, but suddenly for some reason, maybe because I passed the 500 subscriber threshold, which again, thank you. I'm very humbled that I have 500 people around the world that are interested in seeing when things are what things are coming up on this channel, and that spend even a second of their life paying attention to what I'm doing here. So very, very humbled with that. Thank you very much. But with that, just because you're not going to get a response in real time in the videos, because once again, I mean, what you may, this is going to be a very convoluted explanation, I'm sure, because of how this is going to work. You may get a real-time response, in that you may make a comment on a Misty Hills video, an FSN video in this series that popped up, and I may then immediately take action on it in my next video. Problem is, right now, that next video is 2 months away, and again, I got all excited about what I was talking about and entirely stopped paying attention to my harvester, but I only went like a harvester length into the crop, so I will take that as an as the hit, because that's about the best I can do, other than just barely tapping it because of, for example, the forward momentum when I go into reverse that causes that issue. So this truck will be full, and then we're going to have to go ahead and empty it as well. So I will do that while we continue to chat. So you may make a comment in a video. I may think it's the greatest thing I've ever heard, and I may immediately go do it. The problem is, if I'm doing it here, which is likely what would be the case because you're commenting on something in this series, you're not going to see it for 2 months. And again, because I live in real time, I'll be recording it and saying, I got this great suggestion. I mean, I certainly will indicate, hey, I got this great suggestion off of, episode 110 or something, wherever we're at now. We cannot get a full truck of sorghum. We hit the max. So sorghum's a heavy bugger, huh? Because, yeah, most crops we can load up the trailers. I don't remember. I mean, I've obviously done sorghum before, so I had to have hit this, but it's pretty close, though. I mean, it's less than 2,000 liters from full capacity anyway. But yes, so I do listen. I do take into account. I certainly will reply to your comment and let you know, hey, yeah, this is a great idea, I'll be doing that. And more than likely, again, if you're commenting in this series and I have exactly what I just described happen, I will certainly let you know. Like, I will do this right away, but, hey, the episode I'm currently working on is going to show up at the end of September, because that's basically where we're at with these right now. Whoops, I think I went too far. No, maybe not. So, there we go. So just enough that I'm hanging over the pit. I bet if I was 6 inches forward, that wouldn't be the case. But good news is, I empty that trailer of sorghum. There we go. All good. Alright. It's interesting that the back one is that, because I was careful. Well, I wonder if the back one maxed out and I didn't know, because it was max weight, but it wasn't max weight for the entire truck, so it wasn't giving me max, but because it definitely stopped filling the back and I had to move to the front at one point. Alright, so first load of sorghum from year 91, I think is what we're in, is in the books, or in the silo. But, so yeah, I would make the comment, and more importantly, if you make a suggestion, and I am just choosing not to follow it, and it could be something I just I'm like, I'm just not interested. It's not that your suggestion is a poor suggestion. It's just I don't want to do that. I will let you know. Hey, I get it. I think I understand. This is what you would do, but I'm not going to do that. I won't leave people hanging, because I hate that if people do that to me. I mean, I especially for something like this. I mean, it's a community. I know you're giving me your time that you could spend literally on anything else, and you're choosing to spend the time to not only watch something I put together, but to then send me some communication about it. Whether I like the message or not. I've got people who have given negative, I'm doing air quotes, which you obviously can't see because you can't see me, but negative comments. Hey, I hate your voice, I don't like whatever. I'll still respond like, really sorry, not much I can do about my voice. I'm not going to go have vocal cord surgery so I can sound like George Clooney or something. But and again, they may hate George Clooney. Who knows? I mean, that's the issue. Somebody doesn't like something. What you would then perhaps do to solve it, they may still not like. So sometimes in life, we make those choices and say, I've heard your feedback. I'm going to choose to discount it or ignore it, or just think you're being a jerk and ignore it for that reason. Whatever it is. I mean, the good thing is, at least for now, and I think in general, I've not seen, like horrendous comments on any farm simulator board or videos that I've ever looked at from other creators and so forth. I mean, sure, you'll get folks who are like, oh my God, you should, never make another video again. I've never seen anything quite that drastic, but but point being, I'll give you a response and I'll let you know, and that would include, so at least you'd have some guidance, like, yep, I've heard you, terrific feedback, yeah, I'm going to try that, and I'm going to do that, but in my next harvest cycle, but my next harvest cycle you're not going to see for 2.5-3 months. So, and by then, they may have forgotten about my channel. I hope not. I hope that, people are continuing to come back and are enjoying what is happening here and spending time with the community. One of the things I've been dabbling around with now that we're getting a little larger is, I know some of the other channels, whether they're Farming Simulator or others, have Discord servers where subscribers and everybody can come together, and non-subscribers as well. I mean, it's just a Discord channel, so it's open. And some do have, like, subscriber-only sections of the site, which, again, maybe someday that makes sense. It's just, there's nothing I could offer that would be worth that type of thing, other than some ridiculous ego boost for myself of, look how special I am. I have this exclusive channel that I talk with subscribers only and tell them nuggets of wisdom that I don't share with the world. That's not something I honestly ever see me doing. My point is to freely share anything I can help to make people enjoy Farming Simulator or Sims in general. I'm an open book, so I'm not looking to put things behind walls of any sort. But I have been poking around if some people are wondering, and I've never gotten any comments on it, so I don't imagine anyone is. But certainly if I start getting comments, I've started to look at, well, maybe I set up a Mature Simmer Discord channel, and we can all chat with each other there too, as opposed to just whatever we do on a video and then some person has to come back to the video. I mean, there's certainly some benefit there, and I actually looked at it very early on, but was like, well, this seems like it's going to take a good amount of work, and, you know, who knows if even 10 people are going to ever subscribe and look at what I'm doing. But now that I got above 500, you know, whether that was really what motivated my conscience, or, you know, my brain, it's not really a conscience thing, but it's the word that came to mind, you know, that motivated me to say, hey, I'm going to spend a little bit of time on peeking into this. So I, you know, set up a few more channels in what I have set up, and was debating actually putting links out there, just keeping it pretty basic, because frankly, once again, I don't think I have tons and tons of things to share. But I think the benefit a Discord server brings is it's information that people can see, and they don't have to go to the specific video to find it. So at this point, you know, I don't know. YouTube actually, frankly, does I don't know. Maybe it doesn't do a terrible job, but maybe I'm just too stupid to know how to use the interface and find it easily. I don't know how many total videos I've got out on the site at this point. I know it's hundreds. I don't know if I've gotten to 500 yet. But, you know, it's a lot, given that I'm, you know, doing videos daily of some sort. And again, you know, there's probably 100 that are out there now. Well, no, that's too many, because I'm really only into, like, September in some cases, and again, that's more because of this series. Because this is the one that kind of leads the way into the timeline of the future, just because of the amount of content we have. Again, this is going to be a late September video, I think, and I'm in late July at this point, so I'm, as I said, 2 months ahead in what I have, versus, you know, just inundating people with boatloads of episodes that, you know, nobody's going to sit down and watch what would amount to, 30 episodes to, you know, 2 months, because they come out basically every 2 days with a little break in between for the survival series, once a week. But, you know, so, you know, for round numbers, we'd say 30 episodes. You know, if I suddenly gave you 10 episodes a week to catch up, nobody's gonna watch them, and therefore I don't know that there's a point in shoving them out there faster than they need to be out there. It's not like I've got people saying, I need more, you know, hour-long plus videos on Misty Hills, because I think this one's going to be that, because I've just had a lot to say today. But you know, that gives you some window into my thinking and so forth. But yeah, there's a possibility, and if my point I was making there is, if suddenly one of the comments that show up is, hey, why don't you have a Discord server, that'll probably kick me over the edge to turn that thing on and make it, you know, start posting it into the videos. But the issue is, once again, like, you know, I probably would go back and post it into a few, well, I mean, I know me. If I did that, I would go back and post them and everything and get it current, you know, as far as everything that's coming up new. I don't think I would go back historically, other than maybe cherry pick, you know, the top 4 or 5 videos of views, because again, super, super humble thanks to the folks that have taken their time to watch my precision farming video. It's definitely getting up there as one of the most watched videos on the channel. I checked the other day, just because as I was scrolling through looking for another video, it happened to be on the page I was looking at, and I saw I was basically at 5,500 views on that video, which is incredible. So, you know, and it continues in the YouTube dashboard to be the #1 video. It's always the #1 video. It has been since it was posted, in the last, whatever, 48 hours or whatever that metric is. So that one's resonating with people. You know, maybe it was my title. But again, I try to be truthful in what I post. I try to avoid the sensationalism. So I meant with every ounce of my being when I titled that the only precision farming tutorial you'll ever need. That was what my goal was in creating that, is being so thorough and so detailed that no one would walk away with questions. And that's really a lot of the feedback I've gotten on that video is, hey, I've looked at a bunch of other things and you covered things nobody else did, and you know, I totally understand now, and thank you, and this and that and whatever. You know, and it's subsequently one of my most commented videos. You know, I think I've got one or two other videos on the channel, I think with the Hastings map when that came out, because it was one of the first 16x maps that was available, and I was trying to do the automation with courseplay and multiple harvesters and so forth. I think that it was just the intrigue of that at the time, that there weren't a lot of people doing that. You know, I think those got up above 10,000 views very quickly. But I think I have 2 or 3 comments on those where, you know, I've got, you know, 10 or 15 folks commenting on the precision farming video. So it's by far my most commented video, though it isn't as yet my most viewed video, but I have no doubt over time it will be, because I think that's a topic that will have regular interest. I mean, people are going to want to know how to use precision farming, and I know, you know, according to the stats I've seen, there's millions of players of Farming Simulator, so the fact that 5,000, you know, if they're all unique views, which they may not be, maybe people re-watching pieces of it, coming back, whatever, you know, but if there's millions, you know, only 5,000 have seen it, so there's a lot of potential audience out there that may be looking for that information, and you know, I think that will continue to be up there, because there just frankly aren't a lot of other things in the Farming Simulator world that maintain a constant position, which is why if I can provide a good quality how-to tutorial, whatever you want to call it, whatever, you know, phrase you prefer to refer to those things with, you know, I'll absolutely do that. But that's also why you don't see me covering everything or a lot of things, because, you know, there's just so much time in the day, and I'd frankly rather spend time playing and doing Let's Play things, which is why the majority of my content on the channel is that. You know, and in essence, there's some, you know, teaching moments and so forth that can happen, or sharing coaching moments of, hey, this is how I do this, this is how I use this, that may help people enjoy their foray into whatever sim it is that they're watching me on. You know, I've gotten people in Truck Simulator that ask all the time, you know, hey, have you tried this? Oh, yeah, I play the same way. I do this. You know, that's the great thing with the sim community is, you know, we all can share what we're doing and, you know, enjoy it together. But, you know, so, but, you know, a lot of the topics, you know, I mean, they come and go just like any entertainment, which in essence, you know, if we get down to the root of it, I mean, that's what these games are. They're someone's choice. Instead of entertaining themselves with going to a sporting event or going to a movie, they're choosing to sit down at a console or a computer and play a video game that is a simulation of something. And those are the folks that then would find a channel like mine and find it interesting. But like any form of entertainment, it's kind of a flash in the pan in a lot of cases. You know, the last thing your favorite movie star did is interesting in the moment that they did it, but you're not going to come back to it a year later and want to relive that, more than likely, unless it was something ridiculously insane. But again, sometimes there are things that just kind of resonate for a while. They may give a college commencement speech, for example, would be the most obvious, and it was brilliant, and it stays out there and eventually gets to 10 million views on YouTube or something, because people come across it, share it with their friends, everybody, hey. But I don't know that I've ever gone back. Like, I've watched those and I've enjoyed them, but I've not been like, in 5 years I need to watch this again, because I need to be reminded of it again. In a moment I may think that, but I've never done that. Then I forget about it or whatever. So if I've ever actually had that thought, realistically, other than, oh my god, this is so great, I need to never forget this, is probably as close to that I got. But usually then I never forget it, or I do and I don't remember that I forgot it and that I got it from that video. So point being, it's not something that is being looked for, but something, so in Farm Simulator, that's the same thing. Like when Giants makes a new announcement, like, they just posted, hey, an early look at the Silver Run map. Like, I can do a video on that and say, hey, there's this comment by Giants about this, but people can find it directly. If I don't have anything to add, I'm not one of those channels that's just kind of trying to be the CNN of farming, or the Fox News of Farming Simulator, pick your poison type thing of, hey, latest and greatest, 5 minutes after Giants announced something. I did that for a little bit with some things and kind of saw there's not a terrible amount of interest unless I can add something to it, which is why usually very quickly I went to, well, yes, Giants made this announcement, come hear what I think about it. Because once again, I assume, just like any connection people make with another human being, and part of why the trailer for my channel is not, it's probably not honestly a great trailer, but it works for me. It's just very simple and straightforward, like, hey, this is kind of no BS. You're not going to get yelling, you're not going to get screaming. I do get a lot, I shouldn't say a lot, but I do get comments from people regularly, hey, I love the fact that you're not blaring a bunch of pop music in the background, or thinking you're some, speaking like you're some crazy DJ or whatever, like all these other gaming channels do. And I make it very clear in my trailer for the channel, you want that? There's thousands of people out there you can go play with for that. Go listen to the squad, go listen to them yell at each other and make comments they think are hilarious and whatever. It's just not my thing. So, I just have to explain what just happened, because you'll probably find it hilarious, those of you that listen to it. I thought I had something stuck on my screen, so I reached out and rubbed my finger on it to get it off, and now what I realized when I then turned the camera, like I did, is it was my truck coming into view, and it looked like I had like a stuck piece of something on my screen. So I tried to wipe my truck away with my finger. Haha. See, that's as funny as I get. I'm not gonna like just make ridiculous comments about, trying to tie things to pop references that when someone watches the video a year from now, it's going to be like, who's that? What's that? I don't know. So, but that's the point, is like, many of the things that are out there are just kind of like, you've got to hit it right away and get excited, which is kind of what I think the Hastings videos were on this channel for me. Like, when it happened, I'm like, ooh, maybe the YouTube algorithm's finally getting me out there, and this is what it'll be like. And then it wasn't. So I'm like, no, like, something caused those videos to catch fire for a moment. And again, they were hot for a couple weeks, and now, yeah, they'll get views, but they're not running at anywhere near that pace. And I never see that Hastings video in my top 3 on the YouTube channel anymore. So, it's not happening. There's other things, and they're mainly how-tos. I'm just going to drive over to the truck here, because I was like, moving the truck and then moving back doesn't make a lot of sense, because I'm halfway there already. You know, but if I can put out a good, solid, high-quality tutorial, and once again, with that one I did 2 follow-up videos based on comments that people are like, hey, you weren't turning on the sensor. Well, I didn't realize that the sensor, you know, after I then did some further research after that comment, I realized, oh, Giants mistakenly didn't keybind the sensor anywhere. So that's why it wasn't showing up in my help menu. I was operating it with my help menus, because obviously it was new to me in their implementation in FS22, and the sensors were a new thing. And I was testing them specifically, and people were like, well, you went through your whole sensor test and you never turned on the sensor. I'm like, wait a minute, what do you mean? And then when I found out my mistake, I went and spent 10 hours of work, you know, of play time to collect the information I needed to then really test the sensor, and found out that it really didn't matter, because even if you turn on the sensor, it's not working right. Now, that is one of the things that, because they haven't called it out specifically, I haven't made a substantial effort, I haven't made any effort to go check, because of exactly what I said. I think to effectively test it, I'd need to spend another 10 hours, and I'm just worried I'm going to be frankly disappointed, because they didn't specifically say sensors now work. I think there was some general, really vague comments about some changes they made to the sensors, but the way the comments are explained do not indicate to me that they fixed the problem I saw, which is basically they don't do a whole heck of a lot. You know, and I did get comments on those videos like, yes, after watching your video and then trying to recreate the test myself, I came to the same conclusion: these things are worthless. You know, and my expectation was at some point Giants would figure that out, and you know, maybe it would be watching my video and understanding, yeah, you guys botched this one up, and that they would fix it. But I'm not sure that they've done that yet, and there wasn't enough in the update that they did that was nothing. It was a bunch of little tweaks. So it's like if they introduce some major new feature or something in the process of doing an addendum video to test that new feature and explain to people how to use it, once I learn how to use it, you know, then I'll take a look at it. But you know, those type of things then hold value, ongoing value in the ecosystem, because people are going to look for that, and you know, there's always new people coming into the game who are like, how do I use this precision farming thing? And so, yes, I intentionally tried a little bit of a, you know, what someone might consider a clickbaity title, but it was a completely accurate title in my view, because I poured my heart and soul into that thing to make it as useful to someone who's just coming into it. And my goal and the audience I was designing it for was, I am lost. I want to use this thing. I want to get better at it, but I don't even know where to begin. And so I start as I would if they were sitting here in the room in front of me and I was teaching them, like, this is how this works. And that's what I hopefully captured on video, and I think that's what people are giving me comments about and explaining that they enjoy, because I do think, I'm not sure that I've gotten a single dislike on that video. You know, and it's not that I get lots of dislikes on anything, but I've certainly had dislikes on other videos, map reviews, things like that, or, you know, even videos from this series. People, you know, don't like, again, they don't comment. So again, if you dislike something, going back to kind of tying this to the comment discussion we had a while ago, you know, we talked about, hey, you want me to do something different, you got a positive suggestion, and hey, I'll take it, but you just may not see it for a while. You know, if you dislike the video and you don't tell me why, like, I can't do anything about it. I mean, other than I see somebody disliked it, and I can just speculate, and usually my speculation is that the video was too long, or I wasn't doing yelling, screaming, and having ridiculously obnoxious loud music in the background. So again, all of those things are things I'm not planning on changing, because it's kind of what I do. I mean, I know people can turn off the video whenever they're done with me. So if this video ends up being an hour or more, it doesn't force anybody to watch the whole hour. They'll watch the parts they want. And that's why I try to put chapter headings in that at least explain to you what I'm talking about in that, at least for the majority in that section, because if any of you have followed me, you know I go off on tangents all the time. So if I was to change the chapter headings every time I spoke other words, there'd be a lot of chapter headings, and it would take even longer to get the videos ready. But yeah, my goal is, hey, this next 15 minutes is going to be about farm managers on the server, kind of when I change topics. So that's certainly something I've learned. There was no feedback. There has not been a single person, a single comment that I've seen that said, hey, you jump around from thing to thing too much. I've not done it because of that. I've done it because, again, I'm trying to give you compelling content and make it clear to you, like, hey, I'm explaining to you about the FM situation on server 212 for the next 15 minutes. Now, as I run into the crop. Now, I may talk about other things in there once, but it's, for the most part, I try to stay on topic and then move to the next topic so that I can divide the videos into some chapters, because, otherwise the general chapter, if I'm just sharing what I'm doing in game, is I'm harvesting sorghum. One chapter, big video. I mean, then I won't chapter the video. So, I mean, if you see videos on the site that don't have chapters, it's because, it was just literally gameplay. So a lot of the others, like, that doesn't happen in Farming Simulator, because, especially this series, because there's always something to talk about with either FSN or just something new I'm trying or figured out. But you'll notice on the trucking videos, for example, like, my latest method is simply let people know, hey, I'm going to get my load, I'm hauling my load, I'm delivering my load, because other than that, there's not a whole lot coherent being discussed. It's just so I wonder, because see, now this says max, but now I can do this. So it did max out the one trailer, so I'm wondering if I probably couldn't have gotten the whole thing, but let's see, I think it was 78118 is what we had. So let's see if it's going to let me go beyond that, because I didn't max out the other trailer first. No. So it's still that. It just obviously limited me in the one trailer. So maybe I maxed it out and didn't know. I don't know. I don't know how that was possible. But so we've got our second load here, which is great. But anyway, lots of stuff here. I don't know, maybe it's because I got up so early. I was just talkative today. Feel like I haven't shared a lot with you folks in a while, but a lot on my mind, obviously, and so hopefully I've given you something that was helpful and useful. And but at this point, I'm talked out. Like, I don't have another topic noodling away in the back of my brain. But next. There is no but next. So I am done, and I know I've certainly done more than... Ooh, well, I'm going to be done in other ways if I'm not careful. Let's see. Now I'm worried I'm going to get hung up. I guess I'll keep this on just in case I do, so you can all laugh at me. Don't YouTube and drive, right? They always tell you that, don't they? I mean, they do, but probably so that you're not watching your YouTubes, not necessarily recording them. But But no, it looks like actually I'll be fine here, so I will let you go. And hope you've enjoyed your time. And again, very humbly, I thank you for spending time watching these videos, and I hope I will continue making them, and I hope you continue watching them. So I will see you next time.